All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, tonight's broadcast, Insanely Year 13, as we are preparing to get underway here for the 7th race of X League's 2026 Summer GT3 Pro Championship. As they begin to load up the starting grid for tonight's race, let's go ahead and look at the championship standings as they are right now. So, we go ahead and we bring up the championship standings. At first, let's go ahead and talk about the big story with the team championship, the one where there seems to be a lot more up in the air with how that can go. Dodge is dead last with 79 points. Porsche has 96 points. BMW is 5th with 127 points. 4th is Ferrari with 253 points. 3rd is Chevrolet with 314 points. 2nd is Aston Martin with 359 points. They have won 5 races this season, but the rest of their drivers have not had great results. Ford only has 1 win on the season. They are with 395 points, but they have had a much better average finishing result across their entire team. In the Manufacturers' Championship, 23rd is Capsule Healer 59 with 5 points. 22nd is Homelander with 15 points. 21st is Keflex 500 milligrams with 18 points, which puts him into a tie with Yokomuku, who also has 18 points. 19th and 18th is a tie between CL and Clinical, and Keflex both have 24 points, so apparently Keflex is recorded twice. That may need to get fixed at some point. 17th is TCPP Photo with 26 points. 16th is Savage with 27 points. 15th is NDL Shadow with 29 points. 14th is Diesel with 34 points. 13th is Car Rebuilds with 36 points. 12th is Lil Kid Suave with 39 points. 11th is Rebirth with 49 points. 10th is Wiza 4 with 52 points. Then you get to 9th, that's Dex Kalula with 64 points in the season. 8th is NDL Violet with 75 points. 7th is Car Matthew with 82 points. 6th is Breezy Rain with 93 points. 5th is Tempered Chip with 98 points. 4th is Manuel Pedro with 167 points. He is on the very edge of the championship fight, but realistically not going to be in serious contention for it, we don't think. 3rd is Maze with 190 points. 2nd is Les Railgun with 213 points and 1 win. And Dex Twilight still leads the championship with 235 points and 5 wins on the season. Again, the difference between winning a race and coming home second is not that massive. There is quite a bit of drop-off in the amount of points earned as you go down the order, but the difference between winning a race and finishing second is honestly not that humongous. However, what is humongous, and this is where we really want to talk about things, is the wild cards we're going to be looking at coming in to tonight's race. We have 15 drivers running tonight. While I do think Lil Kid Suave was in the neighborhood to try and show up, doesn't look like he's actually going to be allowed in today. Dex Kalula is on pole, so Aston Martin's streak of winning a pole in every race thus far this season continues. But as you look at the results, you see there is no Dex Twilight on the board tonight. So, your championship leader, not here. He is not the only one. Our 3rd place driver in the championship, It's Maze, also has not shown up as he is dealing with real-life commitments. So, the Chevrolet team that is trying to make a outside charge at Aston Martin for 2nd in the manufacturer's points, they have lost their best driver. But Aston Martin has lost their driver, the one that brings home the vast majority of their points. Now, we know that Kalula is a competent driver. We see them put together some good runs before, but Kalula has not really shown the ability to put together a full race. The other thing is tire wear. In qualifying, they only were able to get out about 5 laps, and in the 5-lap period, everyone hit about 40% on their tire wear. So you're looking at most of the drivers burning 8 to 8.5% of their tire life in a single lap. We know for a fact that the Ford GTs are ridiculously good at managing tire life. Now, what that means in this race, with the track being as long as it is, it's unlikely that anyone's going to be able to extend an entire extra lap, barring some caution flag shenanigans. But that does mean that the Fords are poised to lose less time on their in-lap as their tires will be less problematic. One other thing we're talking about, Wiza 4 going to be starting 4th in that BMW. This is the best starting position for a BMW all season long. For BMW, they're just trying to put things together. The team doesn't really seem very well organized. Their strategies have been kind of all over the place. They've been interesting. They put them in a lot of interesting positions, but they've been kind of all over the place. Anyone who is a fan of the BMWs, keep an eye on Wiza 4. This could be their shot at their first podium this season. Also, NDL Violet, he is going to be starting 6th with the series' biggest contender not showing up. Violet could be an outside contender for the championship, but it is going to be Dex Kalula trying to put the Aston Martin team on his back. It's going to be a big ask because he has to go side by side at the start of this race with Les Railgun, last season's champion and the only other driver to have won a race thus far this season. There is a spin at the back of the grid. Someone spun out, coming out of the final chicane, but it doesn't matter. We go green flag underway. Kalula on the inside, Les Railgun on the outside as they fire off down into the turn 1 hairpin. That Ford GT goes deep and wide and ends up going a little bit too wide, and that's Weiser trying to make it 4 wide for the position. Ends up having to back out. He will fall back to 4th position and is already under attack from Indio Violet, but it is Pedro who got right by Les Railgun as Railgun took too much speed in turn number 1. Now they go up through Hours and Radion for the first time tonight. Pedro immediately right on Dex Kalula. Now looking on the outside. Pedro didn't start on the front row, but he started on the pole last night. Took away his easy shot at a win last night with a strategy kerfluffle, but he is already gunning for the top spot as they go down the Camel straightaway. Kalula, though, still on the inside. He tries to go deep, but Pedro wraps around. Pedro back to the lead at Spa Francorchamps, and now Kalula is holding up Railgun. Weiser holding his station over Violet for now. Car Matthew hangs out in 6th. Arrow 592 is in 7th right now. And Pedro already gapping the rest of the field, it seems. Kalula now trying to keep Les Railgun behind. Weiser is running right behind them as well. That's Car Matthew, who has now worked his way by Indio Violet farther back there. So Violet's starting to slip backwards a bit, it seems. But it is Pedro, Kalula, Railgun as your top 3 drivers right now. Weiser running that really wide line, putting those right side tires in that green strip on the outside, trying to give them the biggest entrance in this double downhill left-hander. Now they come down to the bottom of the racetrack. Our top 4 all pretty much right on top of each other. Kalula has a run on Pedro. Not enough of a run to really make a move, but he is right there. And it looks like XR Monaco in the pace car position. He's jumping into the pits, interestingly enough. Not sure what's going on there. Our top 5 all on top of each other as Car Matthew is now gone to the rear of this train of cars now. He is pulled away from Indio Violet, who is just ahead of the other BMW of Arrow 592, but our top 5 all pretty much on top of each other now. There's a fight. Les Railgun trying to get by Dex Kalula. He gets to the inside. Will he be able to complete the overtake in the bend in the straight? There's a little bit of contact. There's a lot of contact. The Aston's wide. The Ford slides. And now it's all of a sudden a BMW up into the 2nd position. Weiser the BMW up in the 2nd spot now. All of a sudden, Cielo and Clinical seems to have dropped out, and we have a problem. Something may have gone catastrophically wrong here. Has something gone wrong? Something's gone wrong. It looks like they're doing a full lobby reset. Now, we had almost completed an entire lap of racing, but they are suddenly doing a full lobby reset. All right, we're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and while we do, we're going to try and figure out what went wrong here at Spa. We'll be back shortly. All right. Can you hear me? Suave. Suave. All right. Well, I know his mic picked up my echo at least, but he may not be able to hear me himself for whatever reason, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the X League GT3 Pro Championship as we're about to do a lobby reset here at Spa-Francorchamps. Not really sure what it was that warranted a lobby reset just before they completed the first racing lap. Seems like the grid is completely borked right now, though, so it may take a little bit of time trying to figure out exactly how to reorganize the grid. And it does look like we are going to still have our 15 drivers that started will still be running here. So once again, maybe the problem was that I didn't thank our pace car drivers for doing their pace car duty. So shout out to IRT Subaru and XR Monaco for performing pace car duties tonight. Your pole sitter, Dex Kalula. Second will be Les Railgun. Third will be Manuel Pedro. Fourth starter will be Wiza 4. Fifth will be NDL Violet. Sixth will be Car Matthew. Seventh will be Keflex 500 milligrams. Eighth will be Rebirth Quint. Ninth will be Arrow 592. 10th place starter will be Homelander. 11th will be Breezy Rain. 12th will be Tempered Ship. 13th will be Savage 6647. 14th starter will be CLN Clinical, and dead last starter will be SSR Quinn tonight. Suave, can you hear me now? Yes, I finally hear you. Oh god, the echo is powerful though. Can you mute the stream on your phone? Alright, well, we're still going around under pace car speed. We're going to go ahead and try to look at the fuel levels of everyone in the field, get an idea how much fuel everyone's running. 52% in the Aston Martin in pole position for Les Railgun. In second, he is starting with 48.8% fuel. Manuel Pedro, who had that big run on the first attempt, he's at 66% fuel. Wiza 4, who's going to be starting fourth in that BMW, only 30% fuel, so he may be on a softer compound tire to start this out with. NDL Violet starting fifth. He is at 57% fuel at the start. Car Matthew behind them is going to have 31%, so likely another driver on a softer compound tire strategy. Keflex 500 MG, 46% fuel. 8th place starter, Rebirth Quint. This is the highest of the Dodges. 71% fuel, so he is going for a long time by the looks of it. Arrow 592. 44.2% in the fuel tank. Homelander, who was the last of everyone who put a clean lap together, but everyone behind him put dirty laps. He has 47.5% in his fuel tank. Breezy Rain, highest of everyone who did not get a good lap in at all, a clean lap in. 35.9% in the fuel tank. Tempered Ship, just behind them. 44.8% in the fuel tank. Savage, behind them. 47.6 in the fuel tank. CLN Clinical, second to last starter tonight. 61% in the fuel tank, and SSR Quinn in the Dodge, last place, 36% in the fuel tank. All right, so we're going to go ahead and try to turn our focus to the race leaders now. Dex Kalula and Les Railgun. Well, Kalula had the shot. Was able to keep Railgun behind, but could not keep Manuel Pedro behind on the first attempt. But now it is attempt number 2. We re-rack them and restack them. It looks like this time we're not getting out of a spin coming out of the final chicane this time, but the rear of the grid is a lot more spread out. The green flag is out, and it looks like Kalula's gotten a little bit better of a jump this time by. All right, and now down the hill they go once more, and it looks like Kalula's not yet cleared Railgun. Railgun was much tighter going through the turn 1 chicane, but now Railgun pulls in behind Kalula just before they get into Al Rouge, and now up the mountain, and a big twitch by the Acid in the front. The entire field packed up right behind him. Look at that, Pedro was already under attack from Wiza, so Pedro had a worse start, and Wiza's already up to third in the BMW. BMW looking abnormally strong early on here at Spa, but Railgun is the focus. He dives to the inside of Kalula, side by side for a top spot at the end of the Camel Straight, and Kalula is going to try and keep him side by side, gets hit from behind by the BMW. Railgun still has the inside line of choice. Is that going to be enough? It is! Railgun, the defending series champion, goes to the lead. Kalula could not keep the Ford behind him that time, and now Wiza runs in third position right behind the top two. It is nose to tail for a top 5 spots. That is Car Matthew and India Violet side by side back there for a 5th position, and now they continue to run downhill. Bit of a slide by Railgun, but he's starting to pull away from Kalula. It is Wiza who is now putting pressure on the Aston Martin driver of Dex Kalula. Down the double downhill left-hander, Railgun continuing to slowly inch away, scoot away. It looks like this may be a race where Railgun is the one that might walk off with this, but Wiza is putting some pressure on Kalula. Matthew, Pedro, and Violet all in a 3-way menage a trois right now for the 4th position. The Ford of Car Matthew is wide. That lets Violet pull up alongside. Here comes the run by Manuel Pedro. The 2 Ferraris are side by side. Violet and Pedro side by side for a moment. Violet around the outside completes the overtake. Violet goes by Pedro. Pedro slips back to the 6th position now. That puts him right ahead of the Ford GT of Tempered Ship. Car Matthew, though, holds on to the 4th position in his Ford GT for right now. There is a little bit of catastrophe going on farther back there. Savage loses a bunch of positions. He's falling way down the grid, but the fight is for 2nd. Around the outside is going to be Wiza, trying to make it work. Kalula hits the grass on the inside, slides wide, but uses that to block Wiza as they come up into the final chicane. This too will be nose to tail for a 2nd position as they go through the final chicane this time by, but already Railgun has a lead of a 2nd and a quarter as they come out of the final chicane to complete the 1st racing lap. Kalula and Wiza pretty much in a zone of their own right now. Car Matthew is trying to pull away from Manuel Pedro. Looks like he's making it stick. It is Pedro trying to stay ahead of the Ford GT of Tempered Ship. Ford GTs right now take 3 of the top 6 positions right now. Right now, the biggest surprise, though, is not the performance of the Ford GTs. It's been like that most of the season. It is that BMW of Wiza, who runs right behind the rear wing of Kalula. Through Al Rouge and Radion again. Kalula has a big twist, sliding back and forth. He's still struggling to get back under control. Finally gets the car pointing in the right direction. Just to start the Camel Straight, and Manuel Pedro nearly hit the outside wall coming out of there as well, but Wiza had a fantastic run through there. Wiza goes right through. BMW up into the 2nd position. I think that's the highest position they have been on pure merit, not strategy, but pure merit thus far this season. Wiza Ford, the BMW up into the 2nd spot. Now Kalula is going to be under threat from Car Matthew just behind. Kalula is going to try and get back to the inside just to go down this big sweeping hairpin corner, but there's no room, can't get on the side, and Matthews is now right underneath Dex Kalula. Again, for the Manufacturers Championship, we have 2 Aston Martins tonight and 3 Ford GTs, and all 3 of those Ford GTs are currently running in the top 8 positions. Car Matthews stays right behind Dex Kalula, pulling up behind him again as they come down the double downhill left-hander. Kalula is just holding on to the rear wing of Wiza, trying to make something happen, and all the while Les Railgun is continuing to vanish off into the distance. This circuit really seems to be strong for the Ford GTs early on tonight. And if you go a little bit farther back, it is Chaos and Anarchy, Tempered Ship fighting here with India Violet. Breezy Rain has actually gotten by them all in that Chevrolet. He is trying to work on Manuel Pedro right now. Car Matthew has just cleared Dex Kalula at the bottom of the circuit. So now Dex Kalula, your pole sitter, has fallen out of the podium positions in less than 2 racing laps. Things are not going very well for him right now. Down through the high-speed Sector 3. There's going to be a bit of a high-speed bend. We see the field run through that. And it looks like Wiza now is going to try and have to keep Car Matthews behind him. Reminder, Car Matthews won the Porsche Cup race at Road Atlanta 2 weeks back. Hasn't yet pulled off a win, though, in the GT3 Pro Championship event. And Breezy Rain is pitting very early. Breezy in that Chevrolet made it way up the order, but now pits. He's got 27% wear on his tires. I don't see any reason why he should pit, but Arrow is pitting, Tempered Ship is pitting, Savage is pitting. There's a lot of drivers in the lower rear of the field who are pitting right now. Oh, and this may have something to do with it. It looks like our pace car is rolling down the back straightaway, and CLN Clinical has heavy damage. The front of the car has a lot of damage. Savage pitted as well. So we have a yellow flag very early on in this race. Les Railgun is your leader. Wiza 4, I think, is just barely able to keep Car Matthew behind him. But we have a yellow flag. No, it looks like, well, Car Matthew just passed Wiza in a straight line, but the leaders have just caught the pace car. So maybe Car Matthew will be scored as the second place driver over Wiza. And will be a Ford GT 1-2 now. These two are still racing like it's a full-on race, though. The leader, Les Railgun, has already caught the pace car. Okay, well, I guess they're going to score the Ford GTs first and second right now. But Breezy Rain, Arrow 592, Tempered Ship, Savage, Clinical, all pitted on that circuit. They all pitted just as the yellow flag came out. What looks like an incident with CLN Clinical. So the second Aston Martin in today's event just not having a good time of it whatsoever. And the entire Ford GT contingency, though, looking relatively strong early on here. Les Railgun, Car Matthew 1 and 2 on the circuit right now. The only other one to keep in mind is Tempered Chip, but he just pitted, so he is on an alternate strategy now. So a very interesting scenario there. So we're going to go under the yellow flag, and while we are under this yellow flag, we'll take a Twitch-mandated ad break. When we come back, we'll update you on who elected to pit under this yellow flag period. We'll be back shortly here at Spa. Alright, can you hear me now? Alright, I guess not.
I'm here. I just have to do team management stuff too. You know.
Okay. If you don't want to be here though, so you can focus. I was not aware you were doing that. If you want to do that, you can leave and like focus on
what
that.
question did you have?
What caused him to restart? What setting was wrong?
I didn't get a good view on it, but apparently in front of Homeman there's something happened. That's the stall I have on it.
All right. Well, I mean that's better than having no information on it. Good lord.
Looks like everyone's pitting.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. If you want to leave and just focus on race management stuff, that's fine. I didn't know if you were here like seriously or like to help with race management, or if you were just here because you wanted to race but they didn't let you, or what. And if it was the case that you wanted to race but they didn't let you, I was gonna let you step into the commentary box. But yeah, if you're busy, you can step out of the party, mate.
I'll just mute up for now.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. We are under the yellow flag right now. CLN Clinical still has not caught the rear of the grid, but when he does, we imagine we'll be going green shortly after that period. Under the yellow flag, though, everyone except our new current top 5 elected to pit. So Wiza 4 in the BMW now leads. Now it is technically off strategy, but he had fought his way up into the top 3 when that yellow came out, so he's just the highest of everyone who did not pit. Dex Klula is now second. Breezy Rain, who pitted as the yellow came out, suddenly works himself up into third. Arrow 592 and 4. So BMW's in 2 of the top 4 positions right now. Savage 6647 now running in the 5th position here. So again, there is no Mays, who has been the strongest driver in the Chevrolet camp this season, but the Chevys are running some alternate strategy shenanigans right now to get themselves some track position early on here. Again, they are focusing primarily on the Astons because the Chevys think that they may have an outside chance of stealing second in the Manufacturers' Championship from the Aston. Les Railgun was the leader, but he elected to pit under this yellow flag, so he has now cycled out into the 6th position, just ahead of Car Matthew. Then after that is Manuel Pedro, followed by Indiel Violet, then SSR Quinn, Rebirth Quint, Homeminder, Tempered Chip, Keflex, CLN Clinical is your last place driver right now. So again, the really interesting thing for me at least is that when it's all said and done and over with, 4 GTs of Les Railgun and Car Matthew right on top of each other, could be a case, and that's Violet, who's sideways off into the dirt. in the pace lap there, and the field has gathered back up. It looks like Violet will get his, will be able to keep his position. So he should be able to go green this time by. The entire field is gathered up. I would hope they don't waste another lap under yellow, just because of how long the laps are. An extra lap under yellow would be absolutely killer for strategies. All you're doing is just insinuating everyone to get another free pit stop and further simplifying the pit stop strategies right now. If we go green this time, we'd have 23 laps left in the event, so we'd basically be in the same position that we were at the start of last night's Porsche Cup race. But again, we had a yellow early on that Porsche Cup race, which kind of flattened up the strategies. There you are, your pace car has pulled off. So Wiza 4 in the BMW number 04 is going to stay out. Manuel Pedro is pitting as we are coming to the green flag, so Pedro's going to focus on running a bunch of laps in clean air apparently. Keep an eye on that, but we are coming to the green flag and we are underway now at Spa-Francorchamps. Immediately, Dex Clulo looking to the inside of Wiza 4, but has to back out of it. That's a run from Arrow. Arrow makes a big run in the Aston, and the BMW runs the Aston wide. BMW has run 1-2. We have never seen that before, but briefly for a moment, BMW's ran first and second, but now Kalula's already gotten back by Arrow 592, and Arrow is now under threat from the Chevy duo of Breezy Rain and Savage as the field comes uphill. Big twitch by Kalula, had a horrible run through Al Rouge and Radion. That time, Arrow's gonna get another run on Kalula for a second spot, and Wizo's already vanishing into the distance. I think Wiza may be on a softer compound tire compared to Kalula right now, and he is trying to milk that for all it's worth. Around the outside is Arrow. He's going to try and go deep, can't make it side by side. Kalula's gonna hold the position, but both of them run wide in the camel straight. And that's Breezy who comes into the frame. Breezy moves up in the third position now. He's going to clear Arrow 592, and now he'll put the focus on Dex Kalula. Arrow tries to look for a run back alongside, but they're in Sector 2. It's a lot harder to get side by side in Sector 2, but Railgun's not hampered by that. He's already got by Savage, so Railgun has now gained one position since the restart already. Now they come out no name corner and down to the double left-hander. Wiza already has a 1.5 second lead on Kalula. Kalula holds on to second. Breezy Rain runs in third place right now. Breezy on an alternate strategy and now has strong track positions. We get to see what the Chevrolets can actually do in today's event. Savage is fighting back against Les Railgun as they come to the bottom of the circuit, side by side for those positions. And now here comes Car Matthew and Indio Violet to the fray as well. Looks like Railgun finally clears Savage as Savage makes a bit of a mistake, and Violet has to swerve to not run to the rear of the Chevy. Suddenly Savage is hemorrhaging positions. That's Car Matthews going to go by him around the outside. Temperature tries to follow suit, can't make it stick. Big contact between Car Matthew and Savage. The Fords are gaining up on the Chevys right now. Here comes a Dodge. It's an American madhouse here in the bottom of the top 10 right now. Breezy Ray has just gotten by Dex Kula for a second spot on the circuit right now, but our focus is on this mess here. They still haven't cleared this Chevrolet. Finally, Tempered Chip gets by Savage, but now Savage has a shot at maybe making a lunge back in. Wiza pits at the end of lap 6. He'll pit out of the lead position now, so he also is going to focus on running a bunch of laps in clean air. Still side by side between the Chevy and Savage and the Ford and Tempered Chip as they don't come down the start-finish straightaway. Breezy Rain inherits the lead. Arrow 592 now up in the second position. Kalula has slipped back to third, but now that's not it. Kalula makes a big dive bomb, pays back the favor that Arrow did on him on the initial start, and it's Les Railgun who goes right by them while those two are busy fielding. Les Railgun now picks back up in the second position. He is only 1.3 seconds out from Breezy Rain right now as the field fires it down into Al Rouge and Radion. That is Violet who's just made his way by Arrow 592 now. Arrow has to go wide though so as not to wreck the car going through Al Rouge and Radion. Violet and Arrow still side by side. Someone went very wide coming out of Radion, but doesn't look like we had an accident through there. Violet now up into the fourth position. He sees Dex Kalula ahead. He's going to try and figure out a way to close down on him. Kalula has lost second spot to Les Railgun. The power in the Aston was enough to let him pull back on to the rear wing of the Ford GT down the straightaway, but we believe that Railgun is on fresher tires as he did pit under that yellow. Kalula is still on the same set of rubber that he started this race on, and Railgun already has gotten ahead of Kalula right now. Breezy Rain leads by about a second and a half over Les Railgun, but that gap is starting to drop. Thing is, we now see Violet now on Kalula. Violet looks to the inside, down to the double downhill left-handers. Kalula can't get to the inside line, can't run the ideal lane. He's wide, now he gets down, cuts in front of Violet just as they come to the bottom of the circuit. Now we come to what's the closest thing this circuit has to S's. right, left, right, left. That Ferrari is right behind the number 77 Aston Martin right now. After pit stops, Manuel Pedro runs about 2 seconds ahead of Wiza 4 on track, so the two of them are just clicking off laps in clean air, not really doing anything in relation to the rest of the field right now. Out onto Sector 3, this time by. Klula holds on to third. Violet is still there in fourth. Les Railgun has cut the gap down to less than 1.2 seconds between himself and the leader. Here comes Violet. He looks to the inside. Dex Klula, side by side, gets the nose ahead. It'll be completely as they come to this high-speed bend. The Ferrari slides wide, though. Klula does not have that problem. Klula now is going to try and cross him over, but Violet's going to have the inside line coming into the chicane. Side by side between the Ford and the Aston Martin again, and Klula botches the corner. Klula blows the corner. Not only does he lose to Violet, Arrow 592 and the BMW goes up in the fourth. BMWs continue to be abnormally strong tonight. Now Dex Klula, your pole setter, has slipped back to fifth position, is now going to be under threat from the Ford GT of Tempered Chip. Big lunge back there by Car Matthew. Lunges to get by both Quinn and Savage. He made it work as Quinn and Savage crashed into each other. Not big crash, but slammed doors into each other, trying to forward to dive bombing Ford GT. Kalula just trying to keep Tempered Chip behind him so he can hold on to the fifth spot. Now up through the Al Rouge and Radion sections again. Again, Kalula very nearly losing control of the car. Does not seem to have a setup that works well in the Al Rouge and Radion complex right now. Breezy Ray has opened the gap a bit on Les Railgun. It's back to about 1.5 seconds over Les Railgun at the end of the Camel Straight. But now they get through Sector 2. This is where Les Railgun's machine is going to be at its strongest. Indiel Violet has now settled in the third position. Clean track ahead. Relatively clean track behind as he is starting to scoot away from Arrow 592 right now. The focus is really on fifth position. Dex Tula trying to keep Tempered Chip behind him. Car Matthew in seventh is your third Ford GT. Again, we are on track to have 3 Ford GTs potentially finishing in the top 7 positions, while one of our Aston Martins is nowhere near the front of the field, and the other one may not even be able to finish top 5. This would be disastrous for the Aston Martin camp, but again, that is the fight for the first position in the Manufacturers Championship. The fight for second, that would be Aston Martin trying to hold off the Chevrolets. Right now, Breezy Ray runs first, but the other Chevy, Savage, has fallen all the way back to 9th. Here comes a run, side by side. Aston Martin now side by side with Ford GT as they get to the bottom of the circuit, the lowest point on the entire track. And it looks like Rebirth Quint may have just lagged out, so he'll be our first disconnect of the day, but it looks a bit for now. Kalula able to keep Tempered Chip and Cars Matthew behind. In fact, Car Matthew backed off so much that let Tempered Chip get by him. So now it is Tempered Chip's time to try and get by Dex Kalula. Now the Ford GTs are fighting amongst each other, trying to figure out who should have the first crack at Dex Kalula. Again, Dex Kalula is running what we believe are medium tire compounds that he started this race with. Contact between the Ford GTs. Tempered Chip holds on to this position over Car Matthew. He lines up a dive bomb. He's going to go deep on the overtake on Kalula coming into the final chicane. Side by side, door baiting once, twice. Now they come out of the chicane. Kalula puts the power down nice and smooth. Tempered Chip holds up, and now Car Matthew gets back on it against Tempered Chip. So it is fighting between teammates right now. They cannot figure out between the two of them who has the priority to try and get by Dex Kalula right now. Kalula didn't have a good time in the turn 1 hairpin, but he is still keeping the 4 GTs behind him for the moment. As SSR Quinn, the Dodge a little bit farther back. We're going to ride on board briefly with Car Matthew as the field fires down into Al Rouge and Radion. And again, you can see, well, this time it looks like Kalula had a better run through those corners, and Tempered Chip was the one with the mistake. So now Car Matthew has a draft on Tempered Chip. Might try and make a move on his teammate again at the end of the straightaway. These three have fallen 6 seconds out of the lead, though. Since this has all started, Breezy Rain still maintains the lead, and Tempered Chip went for a lunge on Kalula, runs both of them off circuit. Matthew clears Tempered Chip. Kalula will hold station, but now Tempered Chip will be out of that fight. That will make things a lot easier for Car Matthew, but Tempered Chip now is going to fall right in front of SSR Quinn. In 7th position, Quinn thinks of going for a dive bomb. Chip covers it off at the last possible second, prevents himself from losing another spot, but now is just going to be Kalula versus Car Matthew. Kalula a little bit wide, coming out of no name, and Car Matthew gets to his inside. This should be an easy overtake now that Car Matthew has that preferred inside line of choice. And with that said, Aston Martin completely falls out of the top 5. Crossover, though, through the middle of the double. Downhill left-hander. Kalula gets back to the inside, but can't pull it alongside the Ford yet. The Ford's actually going to get back in front. So even despite getting subjected to the crossover, the Ford GT has such a strong platform. It goes right back by the Aston with no issue whatsoever. And now with that, the Aston Martins are out of the top 5. alive for the first time, I think, since the midpoint of the Sunset race. And before that, the last time we've not had a Aston Martin in the top 5 of one of these races was, I think, lap 7 in the season opener at Hockenheim. The Astons have just been that strong, but without their strongest driver running tonight, Twilight, Kalula trying to put the entire team on his back just does not seem to have the ability to make it happen. Meanwhile, at the front, Breezy Rain continues to lead in that Chevrolet, but the gap is closing down rapidly. He is down to just 57% on his tire life right now. Les Railgun is second at the moment. His tires are at 45.7%. He has caught Breezy Rain. The gap is now just a quarter of a second as they came across the start-finish line that time by. Into turn number 1 now. Breezy Rain has some very worn-out tires. The interesting thing is going to be NDL Violet, who is third in this group. He is close enough to capitalize if these two have an issue. His rear tires are at 51%, so Violet is on the same tire strategy as Breezy Rain. Railgun has a 1-lap advantage over both of them right now. Bit of a twitch by Les Railgun and Breezy Rain as they come out, and Breezy Rain has to back way out of it, coming onto the straightaway, but Railgun didn't have a good run either, and the sheer power of that Chevrolet lets him preserve most of his advantage. Railgun trying to close in, not going to be close enough to make a dive at the end of the Campbell Straight, but NDL Violet is now third, just 6.5 tenths out from Breezy Rain, but it is Railgun really putting the pressure on Breezy. Violet hangs out in position, so it is Chevrolet, Ford, Ferrari, and that BMW runs in the 4th position right now, and Car Matthew is in 5th, so again, the Ford GTs are easily the strongest cars right now, but as Les Railgun gets to the inside of Breezy Rain, Breezy, the front tires have burnt out too much. He can't hold the ideal inside line. He goes wide again. Now it's NDL Violet who goes by Breezy Rain. So Les Railgun goes into the lead. NDL Violet goes into the 2nd position, and both Violet and Breezy are going to have to pay at the end of this lap due to how worn out their tires are. But Les Railgun, that Ford GT, does he pit this lap or does he stay out another circuit? He's already at the 51.8% mark. But those Ford GTs are so strong, he has the fuel. He could maybe try to go an extra lap longer if he feels it would benefit him. When they hit the start-finish line, it will be 18 laps to go. You could cut that. If we go green to the end and you just want to run soft tires, you could pit then, run 6 more laps on the softs, pit again, run 6 more laps on the softs, pit again. Breezy Rain has completely lost touch. He has gone into the dirt. In fact, Breezy Rain has gone to the dirt. His tires in the 66% range. He's lost all control of the car. And that is going to be great news for the Ford GTs, and depending on how much more time Breezy Rain loses here, this could be good news for the Astons, because Dex Kalula may have slipped back to the 7th position, but Breezy Rain is hemorrhaging time right now. SSR Quinn pulling up alongside Dex Kalula farther back. Temper Chip now being held up by Breezy Rain. NDL Violet pitting now the 2nd spot. He did a relatively good job managing his tires even when they were at heavy wear. Arrow 592, he's going to jump into the pits. Car Matthews is going to stay out. Temper Chip's going to stay out. 4GT now runs 1, 2, 3 on the circuit. And I think this really kind of shows the dichotomy of how this series plays out. The fastest driver in the series is not here. Suddenly, the 4GT team is back on front 1, 2, 3, and it's not even close. They are way ahead of the rest of the field because the 4GT, even if they don't have the greatest pace, their tire management is superior to everything else. Unless you have a pace advantage of like half a second or more a lap, the 4GTs will just eat you alive off the back of superior tire management in the car. That's kind of the grift when it comes to trying to balance GT cars in this game. It is not something exclusive to X League. This has been an issue that has been prevalent in every single GT3 series you see in Forza Motorsport. But right now, the really interesting thing though, Les Railgun holds a gap of 9 seconds over Car Matthews. He's at 59% on the tires right now. Car Matthew, who is in 2nd spot right now, his tires are at 60% on the rear. So it looks like Car Matthew may be running a lower rear downforce setup to prioritize straight line speed. Temper Chip is 3rd. He is at 61% on the front tire. So I think Temper Chip has a setup closer to Les Railgun's. Car Matthew kind of off on his own on a setup a little bit more designed for straight line speed optimization. And 4th place right now is Keflex 500 MG. He is in the one of 2 Porsches in tonight's race. He is really sliding around trying to keep that thing under him. I think he is on a medium set of tires right now. He's only at 43.3% wear. If the top 3 pit this time by and CL and Klinkle doesn't catch Keflex, Keflex would get to lead his first laps here in X League. It'll also be the first laps I think that Porsche has led this season since Sebring. And a lot of that is going to come down to if CL and Clinical can catch and pass Keflex here. Clinical is the other Aston Martin driver. And again, after pitting, Manuel Pedro, who pitted as the field came to the green flag, he is right now running ahead of NDL Violet by about 7 seconds. And Violet is actually clear of Wiza 4 So Violet is on a relatively good run, but a little bit behind the tire game, and Manuel Pedro running very good on track, but he is way behind on the tire game right now. Les Railgun is pitting out of the top spot this time by 61% for Manuel Pedro. He may have to pit this time by anyway, though. Car Matthews, is he going to pit this time? Yes, Car Matthew is going to pit this time. So is Tempered Chip. Keflex 500G as he comes down to the final chicane. He is going to take the lead. Well, it's not a win, but Keflex 500 milligrams, he is going to lead his first laps now in X League GT3 Pro competition. Just on the weekend of his birthday, so I guess that will be his little happy birthday thing. It is CL in Clinical and the Aston Martin who's going to be second. India Violet, who's already made his pit stop. How close is he going to be relative to those Fords? Well, he's already cleared Tempered Chip, already cleared Cars Matthew. Les Railgun still coming out of pit lane. He is going to be ahead of India Violet, but Violet's going to have speed, and his tires are going to be nice and warm. This could get interesting between the two of them. India Violet's going to have the draft on Les Railgun as they go downhill. Now they get to Al Rouge. Big run, slide for the 4GT ahead. He's not got his tires at the tip yet. And India Violet has a run. He pulls up behind the rear wing of the 4GT. He's going to look to the left side. The outside as they go down the Camel straightaway. Ford versus Ferrari down the longest straightaway here at Spa-Francorchamps. How deep is India Violet going to go for it? He goes deep enough. He completes the overtake just as they get to the breaking point. Move India Violet into third position. And now for the first time in what seems like weeks, there is no 4GT running in the top three of a X League GT3 Pro Race. Keflex is still leading the Porsche. CL in Clinical is second in the Aston Martin, and India Violet is third in the Ferrari, trying to keep Les Railgun behind. Interestingly enough, Arrow 592, he is still running fifth on this alternate strategy of his, ahead of Breezy Rain right now, who lost all that time when his tires fell off and he went into the dirt. But Car Matthews, interestingly enough, and Dex Klula both have ended up behind Breezy Rain in the Chevrolet. So Breezy is trying to make something out of it right now, trying to recover from that mistake from earlier. CL in Clinical still a second and a half out of Keflex. India Violet trying to keep Les Railgun behind. The gap between them, this is for third, and likely will be the fight for the overall race win. It's only a tenth of a second. Thing is, Violet is in a car that has been infamous for destroying its tire life, and he is already a lap behind Railgun. Even if he can keep Railgun behind for a good 6 laps, 5 or 6 laps before he finally pits, Railgun is going to be in clean air on not nearly as worn tires, and will be able to rip out some incredible laps in his in-lap here. Violet's not going to have that ability. Violet does not have to go for any, Railgun doesn't have to go for any big moves to lock up this win. He just needs to stay behind the Ferrari and just beat him on the in-lap out-lap period. Keflex 500 MG is now going to pit this time by, so the lead now goes to CL in Clinical in the Aston Martin. So our second different Aston Martin leader in tonight's race is going to be CL in Clinical. So both Astons end up getting a shot at leading in tonight's event. And when Clinical does pit, it will be these two, Violet and Railgun, who will end up being the leaders at that point. But Clinical is staying out a little bit longer here on this alternate strategy. He is at 58% wear on those tires. He'll have to pit sooner rather than later. Violet runs about 7.5 seconds behind Clinical. Big twitch and big slide for Railgun as it comes through Albers and Radion. Railgun lost a huge chunk of time coming uphill that time by. I think he'll still be close enough to get the draft on Violet, but the gap does open up in Violet's favor quite a bit. The thing is, though, that Railgun may be bad in that quarter, but that machine is wickedly strong in Sector 2 and respectably strong in Sector 3 as well. As long as he doesn't lose the draft too hard, and even if he does lose the draft too hard, he can still close all this gap right back down here through Sector 2 and Sector 3. Violet might be in a car, in a setup that he feels a little bit more comfortable with here, but the sheer tire life advantage that the Fords have means that he can't really do anything against them. Arrow 592 in that BMW runs in 4th position, but he is now under threat from Breezy Rain in the Chevrolet. Reminder, we have a lot of drivers on all sorts of wildly different strategies right now. We think it's going to be a 4GT victory here, but every spot from second on down is all up in the air because there are so many different tire strategies up in the air right now, especially if we continue to go green to the end of this race. There is a glut of cars in the midfield here. Kalula, Quinn, Savage, Tempered Chip, Catflex, all these guys running relatively close to each other right now. I'm looking at Dex Glua, who is tucked up behind Tempered Chip right now. So an Aston Martin trying to figure a way back around one of these 4 GTs. I don't know if Kalula really has anything for it though. Already that gap from first to second has closed down to about 3.5 seconds and continues to drop away. Clinical cannot seem to find any pace. He is at 63, nearly 64% wear on those front tires. He has to come into the pits this time by, and when he does, the fight will be between NDL Violet and Les Railgun for a lead. Coming into the final chicane, Railgun's going to try and go around the outside. Violet's going to have a nice tire left through. He'll easily hold on to the spot over Railgun. Now they come down to start finish straightaway. Violet is going to be the one to lead now. Violet gets a shot at leading here at Spa, and we're just past the halfway. We're just at the race's halfway point now. CL and Clinical pits out of the top 3 positions. This will also put the Chevy of Breezy Raiden up into the 3rd position as he has completed his overtake on Arrow 592 as well. Although Arrow, to his credit, is still running right behind Breezy for the moment. Top 2 as they go down through Al Rouge and Radion once more. Again, Violet much better through these corners than Les Railgun. His Railgun seems to hit the dirt either on the inside or the outside and cannot seem to find a nice, clean, straight line through there. But it almost doesn't matter, it seems, because he just makes up so much time back in Sector 2. And Violet's hit the dirt! Violet's hit the dirt into the Camel straightaway! Completely self-inflicted driver mistake as he goes off circuit! And that will let Les Railgun go right back by. And that will decide the race victory as Violet steals, just basically threw away any shot at the race win he had by going off into the dirt at the end of the braking zone at the Camel Straight, the most important braking zone on the circuit arguably, and Violet has thrown it all away himself, throwing away at least 2 seconds to Les Railgun. And now Railgun is not going to have the A1 behind him, A1 in front of him. He can just click off clean laps and nice clean air to the end. So Les Railgun on track for an easy victory tonight, and this could help him make up ground on Dex Twilight in the championship. Again, Twilight is not here for tonight's race. Breezy Rain runs in 3rd position, but Arrow 592 still hangs out behind him in 4th. Arrow having a really strong race. 37% wear on the tires for Breezy Rain. I look at Arrow, who is running in 4th position right now, 37.4% wear. So they're on similar strategies right now, it seems. Car Matthew in 5th position, trying to run them down. He is only at 25% wear. Again, I really think we could be looking, I'm not going to say it's going to happen for sure, but I think we are looking at a possibility of a 4GT 1-2-3 lockout just because the Fords have such a ridiculous advantage on tire life. They can pit at the same time as anyone else. And I said in the pre-race, I didn't think the 4GT would be able to go an extra lap longer than everyone else. As this is going on, I think the Fords can easily go an entire lap longer than every other manufacturer out here on the track right now. And against someone like the Ferraris, they're either going 1 lap longer and the Ferraris are still losing a huge chunk of time, or they can go 2 whole laps longer. The tire life advantage for the Ford GTs are absolutely insane. Yes, the Aston Martin has a ridiculous pace advantage in the hands of Dex Twilight, but it does seem like when it comes to overall balancing, the Ford GTs have a ridiculous tire life advantage. You basically have to be kind of silly and run an absolutely ridiculous setup to not really be able to take advantage of that. Already, Temper Chip has pulled a 1.5 seconds on Dex Klua, who has fallen back to the 7th position. So again, we are looking at a race where Aston Martin may not put a single car in the top 5. Forget podiums, not even a single car in the top 5, while Breezy Rain is having a respectable run in 3rd position right now. The Chevys could end up with a solid lunge at Aston for the 2nd spot in the Manufacturers Championship. Violet has closed the gap down on Railgun to about 0.5 seconds, but again, the difference though is the tire life, 44.9% right now on Violet's left rear tire. I look at Les Railgun, whose most worn tire is only at 33.6%. Sure, Violet's run down Railgun, great job on Violet, but he is now behind the 8 ball. He has put even more wear on his tire when he was in a position that he should have been running away and opening the gap on Violet. Now he has to try and dig deep just to close back in on him. Again, the tire difference is just going to bury Violet as this race goes on. The Ferrari, without a doubt, the worst car in the field on tire management, and Violet not having that problem whatever. Again, the other thing to consider, Manuel Pedro pitted as the field came to the green flag. Despite that, he still had to pit a lap sooner in tire length than the Ford GT, so that has trapped Pedro back there in 10th position, fighting with other people. The Ferraris may have some very good, very competent drivers, but that thing cannot manage tires for anything. The Ford GT has such superior tire management, it just does not seem like there's any way you can actually beat them here. Violet is still stuck outside of the drafting range between himself and Railgun right now. Breezy Rain has absolutely left Aero in the dust now. Aero just about caught by Car Matthew. He's at 49.5%, and I imagine Car Matthew will get him probably in the run through Al Rouge and Radion without too much issue here. Tempered Chip is another 5.5 seconds back behind this group at the moment. Now it looks like Aero is pitting this time by. Again, reminder, Aero pitted one lap after taking the green flag. He led that lap and then pitted out of the lead. So he is another driver on a wildly alternate strategy, kind of all on his own tonight. He was already at 51% wear. That's good news, though, for Car Matthew. Means he doesn't have to lose time trying to overtake a BMW, so his next focus will be Breezy Rain. Now, it was behind Breezy Rain earlier, but Breezy just peeled away from him in a straight line. But he does have the tire life advantage. Breezy is at 53% already and is going to inevitably hemorrhage a lot of time this lap by. For the lead, though, NDL Violet has closed the gap back down to 0.4 of a second, but he is at 54% wear on the rear tires. I look at Les Railgun, who is ranked just ahead. He's only at 42.3% wear. Violet may have caught Railgun, but it's like a dog chasing cars. You catch one and you don't really have anything to do with it because you're just too darn exhausted. 4 GTs run first, fourth, and fifth right now, but NDL Violet and Breezy Rain will both have to pit sooner than Car Matthew and Tempered Chip. Again, we are seriously looking at the possibility of a 4 GT 1-2-3 lockout tonight. Downhill once again to the bottom of the circuit. Violet now is falling back out of drafting range of Railgun as the handling has completely gone off on his Ferrari. And again, Violet's going to be able to stay out here another lap. He can pit when it's 12 laps to go, make it to the end without too much issue on just one more stop. And the sheer pace he has means that, sure, some other drivers may choose to run mediums on this run to the end to try and cut out a pit stop, but the pace advantage just means it won't be an issue. Last night, running all softs was slower than running 3 stints on softs was slower than running a stint on soft and mediums. Now, medium against soft, we don't really know what it would be like, but again, these 4 GTs just do not lose pace compared to their rivals. NDL Violet now has just lost an entire second in a single sector, and he's going to have to pit now with 12 laps to go, roughly. Which looks like Railgun's actually gone a little longer than I thought. Yeah, Railgun is able to go 7 laps on these tires, I guess. So if Railgun could go closer to 7 laps on the soft tires, and everyone else is limited to only 6, it just kind of doesn't matter what's done here. Therein kind of lies the grift. He's just now hit 50.2% wear, so he is doing an entire lap better on tire life compared to the Ferraris. And again, this is a big track, so an entire lap difference here is absolutely obscene. NDL Violet pitted this time, so did Breezy Rain, so did Wiza 4 and SSR Quinn. So it has now officially happened. 4 GTs take the top 3 positions on track. Les Railgun, Car Matthew, and Tempered Chip. Manuel Pedro currently runs in the 4th position right now, but he will have to pit at the end of this lap as well as he is dealing with tire fall off. Dex Kalula runs in 5th position right now. He is at 42.2% in the tire life, and he has caught Manuel Pedro. So Aston Martin versus Ferrari down the Camel Straight. I don't know if Kalula is aware of the fact that Pedro's going to have to pit shortly here. Got right behind that Ferrari's rear wing, but was not in a position to commit to an overtake that time through there. And now they go through Sector 2. Again, we already know that Pedro has a driving style that causes them to burn up the rear tires a lot anyway. Those Ferraris are not good at managing rear tire wear anyway. Big wide line there by Pedro through that through the hairpin, through No Name. Right now, Pedro is still staying ahead of Kalula. Right now, the Ford guys are really happy seeing this because this makes it more and more likely that when the Ford GT trio pits, at least one, if not all 3 of them, could still end up ahead of Kalula, who is the only driver in the top 5, poised to not pit at the end of this lap. Through what you could call the S's here at the bottom part of the circuit, the lowest part of the track, as they come out of Sector 2 now. Again, power advantage is relatively close between the 2 of them, but the Ferrari has burnt up its rear tire, so its ability to put the power down is going to be a lot more difficult. Railgun now paying out of the lead. Kalula pulls up behind Manuel Pedro. Nose to tail, gets a little bit physical, but not able to get side by side with him into this high-speed bend. Still nose to tail. Car Matthew pits out second, Tempership paying out third as we anticipated. And there's the sign, Pedro will be paying this time by. So yes, Dex Kalula is going to go back into the lead now here at Spa-Francorchamps with 11 laps to go. And I look at Kalula, he's only at 47.9% wear. He can stay out for this lap, and then he'll only have 9 laps left in the event. You do the math. He could make this on only, well, he'll stop here, but when he stops, he will not have to stop again. And look at this. Dex Kalula has a track position advantage over Les Railgun, and it is a significant track position advantage. 3.7 seconds over Les with 3.8. In fact, it might be even more than that because Railgun's been slow through Al Rouge and Radion. 3.9, 4 seconds, 4.1. Kalula continuing to expand his gap over Railgun right now. So Dex Kalula at the top, 4.2 second advantage over Les Railgun. The Ford GT said, hey, we'll go aggressive, we'll run all softs after that yellow flag earlier. Kalula being a lot more conservative, running the medium tires, and he has given him a 4-second advantage over Les Railgun. Now, how much of that will he be able to maintain by the end of this lap when he does pit? And when Kalula pits, he's going to have a little bit longer time in pit lane because he'll have to put in more fuel. But right now, Kalula and Railgun both have one more stop to make at the moment. This could get very interesting because, again, if Kalula pits and ends up having to spend a lot of time fighting with other drivers, that's going to hurt him a lot. But if he pits and he ends up in relatively clean air and Railgun is in clean air also, it could be game on between this duo because Kalula will not have to pit again. Railgun will still have to make one more stop before this is over. And the wild card is there in third position, NDL Violet. He pitted a lap earlier than Railgun again. But the big thing about Violet, he has shown that he has speed comparable, if not faster, than Les Railgun. If Violet runs up there, catches Railgun, and starts fighting with him again, it gives Kalula a chance to maintain a little bit more of his advantage. But already, just in Sector 2 alone, Les Railgun has taken 7/10 of a second out of the lead that Dex Kalula has. But is that going to be enough to overcome what will be a mandatory extra stop, basically? Well, realistically, right now, before he pits, the gap is legitimately 3 seconds between Kalula and Railgun and closing. I think unless Railgun ends up being caught by Violet and spends a lot of time fighting with Violet, I think Railgun has the sheer pace advantage that he'll still beat Kalula and could still probably pull off this win. Kalula stayed out another lap! Kalula has stayed out for an entire extra lap by the looks of it. He is at 54.4% wear on the tires, but he has chosen to stay out another lap. That might not have been a great idea, but maybe it was. We don't really know, but he is staying out one more lap, so he will only have 9 laps after this. It would have been 10 laps if he pitted just then, but he will have 9 laps left on the mediums on the run to the end here, but Railgun is tearing away at the gap between himself and Kalula, and Violet is tearing away at the gap between himself and Railgun. Right now, Violet is the fastest driver on the circuit. It's not even close at the moment. Again, the big question is going to be, does Violet get a shot at fighting with Railgun? If he starts fighting with Railgun, the two start hemorrhaging a lot of time. That really works out in Kalula's favor. But Kalula needs Violet to catch Railgun now, not yesterday, not 2 weeks from today, not in 5 hours after dinner, now! At the end of the Camel Straight and now through Sector 2, the gap between Railgun and Violet is only about 6/10 of a second, so Violet is just on the edge of drafting range against that Ford GT. But he needs to catch him and start fighting with him if Kalula is going to figure out a way to make this stick. Kalula has been much misaligned not misaligned, much malaligned throughout the season. He has had good top 5 runs get derailed by disconnects or incidents or bad strategies. We know the Aston Martin platform is great. We see Dex Twilight winning almost every time he steps into it, but Kalula is trying to prove that it's not just him, that he is legitimately a good, competent driver right now. But the gap between first and second is continuing to close down rapidly as they're going through Sector 2. He is going to lose at least an entire second in Sector 2 alone here. And Violet is still behind Railgun. Violet is closing on Kalula even faster than Railgun is closing on Kalula. Kalula is going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Railgun's not going to catch him, but again, that speed differential right now suggests to me that Railgun is still going to win this race just because he does not have any pace fall off, and his pace is just ridiculous on those tires right now. Railgun now within drafting range of Kalula. He is going to have the draft on Kalula, and that will be a big help in Railgun. He is now going to use this. He is now over a second ahead of NDL Violet. Railgun has broken the draft on NDL Violet. There's realistically, I don't think, any chance now that Violet gets a shot at fighting with Railgun, and he has caught Kalula just as Kalula has made his final stop. There's not going to be a fight between the two of them. Kalula pits now with 9 laps to go. But again, thing is, Kalula's going to have a longer final pit stop than Railgun, and Railgun is going to have no tire fall off. Yes, Railgun has to pit again, so does Violet, but Railgun has no tire fall off. Kalula, we already saw, had to deal with some significant tire fall off, and Railgun is now in clean air. Violet is not close enough to take the fight to him. Railgun on track for an easy win here. But could we see Kalula at least put the team on his back, try to bring home a potential outside shot at the podium? I don't think it's really in the cards. I do think that the other 4 GT drivers will likely catch him before it's over, but Kalula is trying his best to make something happen. And to his credit, after completing his pit stop, he is in clean air. It is a 5-second gap between himself and Tempered Chip in the 4 GT ahead of him, and Manuel Pedro is another 6 seconds up the road from Kalula as well. So again, I think Kalula is going to be in clean air from now basically until the closing laps of this race. As long as he doesn't have any catastrophic failures, this could go well for Kalula here. We look back at the front and look at this. Violet's caught Railgun going down the back straightaway again. I thought it wasn't going to happen, but no, Violet has caught Railgun. This is Kalula's biggest chance. If he wants to have some sort of fight for this win here, he needs Violet to start getting aggressive with Railgun, starting to get real physical, door-to-door, door bang with this 4GT. If it doesn't happen now, though, it's not going to happen at all, and that means that Railgun will be smooth sailing to the end here. Violet still staying right behind Railgun right now as they now come to the bottom of the circuit, the lowest point on the track, and through the S's they go once again. Keflex 500 MG runs in third in that Porsche, but he is trying to stay ahead of the Chevrolet of Breezy Rain. Breezy still maintaining his position over Car Matthews right now, but Matthews has a tire life advantage over Breezy to the end. That's why we believe that Car Matthews is easily going to clear him. Violet, I am really stunned, is still taking the fight to Les Railgun as they come into Sector 3, this time by. We look at the tire life on Violet, though. He is at 39%. He still has another lap or two that he can go at this here. As the time is running down, we are going to have to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, sadly, as this race continues to take interesting twists and turns. We're going to spend a flying lap on board the Ferrari of NDL Violet. We'll be back shortly here at Spa-Francorchamps. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Spa-Francorchamps. We just spent a lap on board Violet, who pulled up alongside Railgun at the end of the Camel Straight that time, but could not make the overtake stick, so Railgun holds on to the lead. But this is good news for Kalula, as these two are actively fighting for the top position right now. Breezy Rain, Car Matthew having a little fight of their own for third position. Clinical and Arrow both pit now out of the top 10 positions. That will be their final stops. A bit of a slide there for Railgun coming out of Radion again, and Violet's going to have another great draft run on Railgun, pulling up behind the Ford GT once more. I don't think he'll be close enough to make another lunge in the braking zone this time. He does look to the left-hand side, the outside. Not really able to do anything. He just kind of hits Railgun in the rear that time by. Again, I think Violet's really showing that he may be the better driver. We know that between these two, based on the way this race has gone, most of the other races the season's gone, the Ferrari is arguably the worst car, and the Ford is arguably the best car, and Violet is kind of digging deep and still finding something out of it despite all that. As the field running downhill now, the double downhill left-hander. This is one of Railgun's strongest pair of corners, but I think if Violet can stay within the drafting range, he'll close the gap back down a little bit. But again, Violet, at the end of this lap, he's going to be on some awful, awful tire wear. But at the end of this lap, there's only going to be 6 more to go. Violet can pit at the end of this lap, and while he's still going to be dealing with tire fall-off, it's not going to be unbearable. So it'll be 6 laps to go. He's at 59% tire wear right now, but he has lost. Yeah, Violet has lost the draft on Railgun this time by. Again, Railgun's been going a lap longer than Violet pretty much every time. He's only at 46.8% wear. Railgun could stay out under a lap, or he could choose to pit at the end of this lap. But again, it doesn't matter. Railgun and the Ford GT platform in general has no tire fall-off whatsoever. All right, now we turn our focus to the fight for third. This is Breezy Rain in third, Car Matthews in fourth. This will likely end up being the fight for second position when this race is said and done and over with, I imagine. Just because Violet loses so much time at the end of his tire runs. Around the outside, there goes Car Matthew, and Breezy Rain says, all right, I'm paying this time. So yeah, Breezy Rain got pit at the same time as NDL Violet, but the Ford GT's easily able to go an entire lap longer on tires than every other manufacturer here. That difference here at a circuit like Spa with a 4.5-mile lap is absolutely absurd. Manuel Pedro now has worked his way up into the third position now. He's at 52% wear. He is trying to just limp this car home now so he doesn't have any tire fall off near the end here. Tempered Ship has slipped back to fourth. It's not been the greatest run for him. He's just hit 50.6% wear though. NDL Violet, after pitting, he is in fifth. Interesting enough, Violet is actually ahead of Kalula. So that's interesting, but that also suggests that, yeah, Kalula on these medium tires, he's just so slow. There's no pace in him for him with these mediums. So Kalula, while it was a respectable strategy attempt, it does not matter. Not only is he slower than the Ford GTs, he is slower than the Ferrari of NDL Violet. I don't think Kalula is going to have a serious shot at the podium. He might only be able to get fifth at best, which, again, strong showing by Kalula, but not anywhere near to what the team needed. It is very obvious that the Aston Martin team is carried by Dex Twilight, and the moment that Twilight doesn't show up, the Aston Martin team just completely falls apart and implodes on himself. Kalula is a good driver, very willing to go out there and put the team on his back, but if your back and legs are not strong enough, metaphorically speaking, you will be crushed under the weight of team expectations. Gap between Les Railgun and Car Matthews is 10 seconds. Car Matthews has a bit of a moment there in the dirt. We're going to go ahead, and we do this late in the race every time. Let's get the time penalties earned at this stage of the event. And this is probably the most damning thing. Only one driver has less than 1 second of time penalties. It's Les Railgun with 8/10. Car Matthew, 3.1 seconds of time penalty. Manuel Pedro, 7.6 seconds. Tempered Chip, 9.7 seconds. NDL Violet, 6.8 seconds. Dex Kalula, 9.6 seconds. Breezy Rain, 6.4 seconds. Catflex 500 MG, 4.8 seconds of time penalty. Clinical has a solid 10 seconds exactly. Arrow 592, 8.8 seconds of time penalty. Savage with 9.3 seconds of time penalty. Wise 4, 5.6 seconds of time penalty. SSR Quinn, 9 seconds. Homender, 241 seconds of time penalty. All right, so NDL Violet, is he going to end up in a position that he can fight with Les Railgun again when pit stops are over? Again, the big thing though, time penalties. Violet 6 seconds behind Railgun. There is no way in the world that Violet can outrun a 6 seconds time penalty differential, not with how much time he is guaranteed to lose at the end of his run. Railgun has just come out of pit lane now. Violet's coming out of the final hairpin. He is quite a distance behind Railgun at the moment. about 2 seconds. He will have the ability to close the time down, though. He'll be nice straight. His tires are already warm, and Railgun has been very, very bad in the Al Rouge and Radeon complex on cold tires. Already the gap down to 1.5 seconds and continuing to drop down now. 1.5 seconds, now 1.4 seconds between Railgun and Violet, but Violet well out of drafting range of Railgun, and even if Violet catches Railgun, it doesn't matter. Even if he gets past him, it doesn't matter. He has to figure out a way to pull 6 seconds on him, and with how bad the Ferrari's tire fall off is going to be on the final lap, that's not going to happen. After pit stops, Dex Kalula right now is ahead of Car Matthew by about 2 seconds, but Car Matthew is going to be on soft tires. Kalula is going to be on these worn-out mediums. Breezy Rain has ended up just behind Car Matthews as well. He also pitted a lap earlier, so he is going to have some tire fall off as well. So again, it looks like Car Matthew basically guaranteed third. I think Car Matthew has a serious shot at second here. I think the big kind of surprise is Tempered Chip. This has all kind of gone pear-shaped for him on this run to the end, kind of the chink in the Ford GT's armor. We thought, oh, they're going to easily pull off a top 3 sweep here. It looks like Tempered Chip can't really keep the car under him as well as his teammates, but it does seem to me that Car Matthew guaranteed third, more than likely going to steal second as well from Indial Violet before this is over. The question I think is going to be between Violet, Kalula, and Breezy Rain. Between the 3 of them, who ends up getting second spot? Gap between Violet and Railgun, 1.4 seconds. Railgun has no draft he has to worry about. He can just click off laps all by himself. Violet kind of has to dig deep just to catch Railgun. I think for Violet, his focus now is going to be, well, I just need to stay behind Railgun and try to click off laps in his draft as defense against Kalula to hope that Kalula doesn't catch me late in the run. Same thing with Car Matthew, who runs about 8 seconds out from Violet right now. But we saw Violet lose at least 2 seconds on the final lap on the last run, and he has not closed down on Railgun at all through Sector 2 or 3. He is still 1.5 seconds behind Railgun as they come out of the Turn 1 hairpin. And Car Matthew is pulling away from Breezy Rain right now. Now Violet, it looks like Railgun didn't have a good run out of the final of the Turn 1 hairpin, and now Violet's starting to close that gap back down. It's now down to 1.1 seconds between our top 2. Now 1 second flat. Down 9/10 of a second, now 8/10 of a second. Violet just took a huge chunk out of Railgun in Sector 1, but that's the grift. Violet very strong in Sector 1, not enough to give him the advantage to make something happen in Sectors 2 or 3. He basically gets a whole bunch of ability in Sector 1, and then it all just kind of dribbles away from him through Sectors 2 and 3. And the worst part is, that is where he'll lose the most time on the final lap when his tires go off. Dex Kalula is 6.6 seconds out of this duo right now. If they finish where they are right now, it would be enough for Violet to secure a second-place result in this Ferrari. And he's going to be wondering for the rest of the night, what if I didn't get into the dirt midway through the race and have that big, lazy slide, lost at least 2 seconds to Railgun in that. If that didn't happen, Violet's going to be asking, how much differently would this race have played out? These two are still pulling away from Kalula, and Kalula still maintains a gap of about 2 seconds over Car Matthew, and Car Matthew is being harassed by Breezy Rain right now. CLN Clinical running in 6th. In the other Aston Martin, they're at 38.9% on his tires. If he's willing to limp it home, he can put this second Aston Martin car maybe in the top half of the field result. Again, there is no Dex Twilight, but Clinical is stepping up, and Kalula has absolutely stepped up to the best of their abilities. They are trying to do anything they can to salvage points against these Chevy teams for second. With the run that the Fords of Matthews and Railgun have, we know that they're going to massively extend their gap in the Manufacturers Championship. But it's Aston Martin versus Chevy now for second in the Manufacturers Championship. Breezy Rain runs 5th. Savage is buried down there in 11th. Clinical is having a very abnormal top half of the field run, while Kalula is running 3rd on an alternate strategy. If they can pull that together, then the Astons will bring home more points than the Chevys at end of day today. All right, 3 laps to go, this time by. Down through Sector 1, this has been Violet's strongest point. He is hanging out just outside the draft range of Les Railgun, but his focus is not passing Railgun for the win. The time penalty is guaranteed that won't happen. His focus on making sure his gap on Kalula is big enough that he can still salvage a second-place result at the end of this. Still, he's got a fantastic draft on Railgun. Railgun's not even going to try and defend. Violet to the inside. Side by side for lead. Ford versus Ferrari. The Ferrari has the inside line. He's going to go deep. The Ford is still there. but this time the Ferrari takes it! The Ferrari goes to the front now with 3 laps to go at Spa. All right, back downhill. They start going through Sector 2. Railgun, again, doesn't really have to worry. Railgun can just be the one to hang out behind Violet. Kalula, on those worn-out medium tires, is not going to have the pace to run down on this duo, and Railgun has less than a second of time penalties. Everyone else is way more than that, so it's not like Railgun's going to lose this race on time penalties either. As long as these two don't get into an accident with each other, we know that Railgun will win this by default. But I say that, I'm reminded way back in 2018, I covered a race here at Spa for a GT3 Championship, the IESC GT3 Championship. The 2 fastest drivers all race long got into each other and crashed on the last lap at the bottom of Sector 2. One of them finished 5th, one of them finished 7th at the end of this. Things happen. Spa could be a very chaotic, very wacky, very wild race, and a lot of strange things happen here. We have seen before instances at the end of races at Spa in GT3 races. These two just need to be reserved. If Violet was to go out and glory hog and lead laps to the end, Railgun should just let him. He is not going to be caught by Kalula. Railgun is guaranteed this win. Likewise, Violet, if he knows that Railgun is going to beat him in the corner, is going to get by him, he should let Violet go. Violet does not want to get into an accident and throw away a second place result, which would be his best result of the season. Violet had a bit of a mistake there in the final chicane. Railgun has around him, but the power is down. The Ferrari, I think, is going to be able to hold the lead. Coming down now when they cross the line, it will be 2 laps to go. Violet continues to lead. Kalula still more than 7 seconds out of the lead right now. The question, can Kalula stay ahead of Car Matthew? Car Matthew is only about 0.6 of a second out from Kalula right now. I think Car Matthew might still be able to nip Kalula for his position, but again, then the focus turns into what is it going to look like when it comes to penalty differences. Kalula 10.7 seconds, Car Matthew 3 seconds. Kalula is going to plummet well down the order on time penalties just off of that alone. So Car Matthew off the time penalties basically already guaranteed a podium result. Breezy Rain back there in 5th might, if he can pick a little bit of speed up against Dex Clue at the end, Breezy Rain might be able to steal 4th from Dex Clue at the end as well. There's the move. Car Matthew, easy straight line speed overtake by the Ford GT. A rare thing to see, but we know that Car Matthew has that lower down for a setup, and he used that to just clear Dex Clue on the straight line with no issue whatsoever. So move Car Matthew up into the 3rd position, and Car Matthew is only at 3.1 seconds of time penalty. NDL Violet is now at 9.4 seconds of time penalty. There is a possibility, not a guarantee, but a possibility that at the end of this race, Car Matthew might pass Violet. The gap between them in time is 6.3 seconds. Car Matthew is only 8.1 seconds out of Violet, and we know Violet lost about 2 seconds on the final lap of his run last time by. If Violet loses a similar amount of time, this final lap as well, Car Matthew might still nip Violet for the 2nd position. A 1-2 finish for Ford would show that no, the Ford GT platform is still the best platform. It's still the team that you want to be on. It just doesn't matter in normal races if Dex Twilight shows up, but in a race where Twilight doesn't show up like what we have now, that is going to kind of be a non-issue. The Fords are just that much better than everyone else. Also, as we come to the white flag here, one more thing with Mays not showing up, his streak of leading at least 1 lap in the first 6 races of the GT3 Pro season this year, that streak comes to an end as he was not in this race to attempt to lead a lap tonight. Now they come to into the final chicane for the 2nd to last time. NDL Violet leading, but he has 10 seconds of time penalty. Car Matthews only 8 seconds out from the leaders. We know that Violet is going to hemorrhage a huge chunk of time to the finish here. Kalula has slipped back to 4th position. Breezy Rain is only 1 second out from Dex Kalula, and Breezy has a time penalty advantage over Kalula as well. Kalula might fall as far down as 5th when this is over here. But for Violet, the question is he going to score a 2nd or 3rd place result? Car Matthew, 8 seconds out of the leader right now. Les Railgun seems to be content to run in 2nd spot right now, not really closing up behind that Ferrari. He just wants to run behind, let Violet have whatever happens. He knows he'll get him on time penalties. No need to harass him. For Violet, the time penalties are a killer, but he can at least hold his head proud, knowing that it is possible that he is going to be the driver who will cross the line first at the end of this race. It's not a win. Again, X League does not remove time penalties under any circumstances, but it will still show that, yes, he is legitimately here on speed, on merit, on performance. He knows what he's doing. He's just stuck with a maligned car, and today an inability to keep that maligned car within track limits. Car Matthew in 3rd, Dex Kalula is 4th, Breezy Rain is 5th. I'm looking at Kula at the end of these medium tires. He is at the 57% range, continuing to hemorrhage time. Breezy Rain in that Chevy is also on some worn-out soft tires, but worn-out soft tires are generally faster than worn-out medium tires. Manuel Pedro runs about another 6 seconds out from this group right now. I don't think he'll be a factor here, though. Even if Breezy doesn't pass Kula on track, though, he'll get it on time penalties to the end, more than likely. We switch the ticker to penalties one more time. 3.1 seconds for Car Matthew, 9.4 for NDL Violet. And Matthews is just 7.7 seconds out from Violet, and this is it, Sector 3. This is where Violet lost another entire second last time by. Railgun seems to be content to stay behind Violet for now, not really harassing him, not really pushing him. Again, Railgun doesn't really have to worry. He knows that he has this race won by default as long as he doesn't stuff it into the wall in the final chicane. Through that high-speed bend for the final time, into the final chicane for the last time. Car Matthews closed that gap down to 7.1 seconds. There's door-to-door contact between the leaders. And that really backs up NDL Violet a bunch. Les Railgun will be the one to come out of the final chicane. He will take home the victory with no issue whatsoever. Violet will be the second car across the line. But where is Car Matthew going to be in relation to Violet? Will it be enough for him to steal second from Violet? It is! Car Matthews still second as a 4 GT 1-2 finish. NDL Violet takes home third. Breezy Rain will come home in fourth. Dex Kalula pulls off a 5th place result. 6th place for Manuel Pedro. 7th, I think, is going to go to Keflex here, potentially. Keflex, 500 milligrams, will steal a 7th place result in that Porsche. I think that's his best finish this season, and it's also the first time he leads laps. CLN Clinical is going to be 8th, and the BMW team, who qualified well, ran up front all day, all fell apart. Their best finish will only be 9th. Tempered Chip falls to 10th at the end of the day. 11th looks like it's going to go to Wiza 4. 12th, I think, is going to go to Savage, potentially. We're still waiting to see these last few drivers cross the finish line. Quinn might beat Savage here on time penalty. We'll see momentarily. Yes, Quinn beats Savage on time penalty, so Quinn gets 12th. Savage gets 13th. Homelander still stays on the lead lap, but he'll be classed as 14th. But the big thing, Aston Martin will bring home more points than Chevy at end of day today. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we will try and talk with some of our top finishers at the end of the day today. All right, can you hear me? A second, please work. Oh no. Oh no, my entire everything is just frozen. 1 second. All right, can you hear me? Ah, crap.
about that.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Suave, nothing personal. Can you step out of the party? I'm going to try and keep the party small so it doesn't crash mid-interviews.
Alright.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Spa-Francorchamps. Our race is over here, and our winner is Les Relgun, but I want to talk with someone a little bit different here. Keflex 500 milligram. Keflex, in the Xbox party, there should be an option to include your audio, like a little box near the top. Can you see that and hit that?
Yep, it's already hit.
All right. Keflex, it's not a top 5 result. Normally, I only interview people in the top 5, but I did want to talk to you. It is your birthday weekend. Best finish, I think, thus far in GT3 Pro for you, and you led laps today for the first time as well. What do you have to say about your run out there in that Porsche?
Pretty good. The car felt good, that's for sure. I mean, like I kind of made changes to the tune right before the start of the race, and then kind of went rogue on the whole strategy that our team had. Once the safety car came out, I was like, fuck. Well, if it's 24 laps left, then maybe I could do like 8 on mediums 3 times. So I did 3 stints of mediums. I kind of wish I did like a couple softs instead or kept the original strategy, but whatever, it was still nice.
All right, a great run out there. Best finishing Porsche in today's race as well. Still 3 more races in the season. Do you think there's a chance for you to go a spot or 2 better before the season is over?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe if I actually use softs like I'm supposed to.
All right, anything else you want to say before we go ahead and let you go?
No, just thanks for um, letting me drive with you guys. All right.
All right, well, that is a
Have a
word
good
from
one.
Keflex, our birthday guy for the weekend. Keflex, go ahead and leave the party. Thank you. I'm going to try and send an invite out to Breezy Rain, who was a top finisher. But now I want to talk with our third place finisher, NDL Violet. Violet, well, you were up at the front all day long, but the lack of tire life from the rear of the Ferrari and time penalties derailed the top 2 result. What do you have to say about your run out there today anyway?
Sorry, you got that wrong. I think you mean P2, not P3.
Time penalties, your third.
Yeah, I got daylight robbery punted at the final corner. I don't count it. It doesn't count. Not real. Not real result. Yeah, now for real though, it's a lot better than it was the Ferrari BOP. Like, if I was on the old BOP, we would have been a second faster, but lose like 3-4 seconds a stint more on the tire wear. So I'm happier with where it's at, for sure. I think this track is one that's just going to push certain aspects, like the Ford having better tire wear and the Ferrari having a bit worse, and me really being the only person that really had the ability to fight railgun. Yeah, that's just going to expose those sort of things a bit more. I'm not really too concerned about it, to be honest, as much as I was before anyway. Fastest lap, had the pace, had a good car, just, yeah, bit different on how the strategy would usually work for this league because of the track. And then, yeah, we're hunting the only person fighting you, so.
I'll also say in
Decent
regards to
race.
fastest lap, you did not get fastest lap. It was your teammate Pedro who got fastest lap. So the Ferraris put down the 2 fastest laps
And he
throughout the
did.
day at that.
Oh damn. Yeah, I just thought that I had not seen that before. Fair enough. I thought I had it.
I mean, to be fair, that's not really robbing you. We already know that Pedro is very good on single lap pace. I mean, the difference is Pedro spent a lot of that time in clean air. You spent a lot of that time fighting with railguns. So still having the second fastest lap while spending most of the time fighting with someone else is still a good run out there.
Yeah, well, I had the draft though, so like that is the coin flip of it. I gained. I don't think I would have done a 15 without the draft, but also, I didn't really have much of the opportunity to prove that, and Pedro did. But yeah, nice to see that we are now there or thereabouts on the pace front, and I'm hoping that other tracks won't quite as expose our weaknesses, because as soon as you go to the mediums, it's not as bad. It's just like when you're forced to kind of run softs only, it's kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, I'm happy with P2 for sure. Good race. Wish I could have not gone off the tracks as many times as I did and been able to fight railgun a bit more legit. But I wasn't really gaining. If anything, I was losing. Like I got like a 3.9 at the top of Air Rouge when I was like 30 degrees going over the top of it. And I literally lost like 7 tenths of a second down the straight, but 3.9 second pen it is. And then yeah, little ones.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and let you go for the night?
No, just happy with P2. Good race.
All right. Violet, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Do step out of the party when you can, though. Hopefully that will keep the party a bit more stable. And now we want to go ahead and turn our focus to our fourth place finisher, the Chevrolet driver of Breezy Rain. Breezy, relatively interesting race. With Maze not here, you were the one who had to put the team on your back, and you put your machine ahead of all of the other Astons as well. What do you have to say about your run out there, Breezy?
Just not great. I bent it. I think it was lap 8 or so. Then I just fell back and couldn't catch up.
For not catching up, mate, you still came home fourth. That's quite a bit of catching up you did.
Yeah, it would have been nice to battle with Violet and Railgun, but yeah, we're pretty much similar pace the rest of the race.
All right, 3 races left in the season. The 4 GTs are pretty much guaranteed to win the Manufacturers' Championship again. But do you think in the Chevy camp you still have a serious shot to beat the Astons for second in Manufacturers before season is over?
Maybe. We keep putting in top 5s.
All right, fair enough. Anything else you want to say before we let you go for the night?
No.
All right. Suave is not here for you to give him the verbal finger. But thank you very much, Breezy, for jumping.
Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Breezy, for jumping in and talking with us. We'll go ahead and let you go for the night. All right. Now I want to turn our focus to our race winner, Les Railgun. Card Matthews, I did see you jump into the party. I'll get to you shortly. But I want to turn our focus to Les Railgun, tonight's race winner. Railgun, very interesting day today. Basically had to fight all day long, but it was time penalties that gave you the win in the end. What do you have to say about your run today?
I mean, I was trying my best to not get any pins. I did got a stupid one, wasn't even on Eau Rouge, but I just tried to keep it consistent and keep it pen free.
All right. In the Drivers' Championship, with Twilight having not shown up tonight and you having won, you should end up taking the championship lead over with 3 races to go. Do you think you can hold off Twilight for the Drivers' Championship to the end of the year?
Probably, yeah. I was already like thinking I was having a shot. Now it's might be guaranteed.
All right, yeah. Again, if I remember correctly how points are earned, I think you earned 40 points for a win tonight. You didn't get pole, so that doesn't help, but you were 22 points behind coming into tonight's race, so I think you'll be 18 points ahead of him with 3 races left in the season.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to say, Railgun, before we let you go for the night?
I'd say the race would have been a lot more closer if no one got that amount of penalties. I mean, damn, I don't even know how. My car was just bouncing on the Rouge all the time. I couldn't do it flat out. I've seen people catching up to me, like Violet, what's the other guy? Weeza. Some people that I wasn't expecting it to catch up to me, they were like doing the Rouge flat out, and I think I was like the only one that wasn't doing it, and I was still not getting any pins right there. It seems like everyone just got their whole stack of pins in Rouge alone.
Well, you know what they say. Sometimes slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Maybe that's what got it to you in the end.
Yeah.
All right. Railgun, great job on your victory out there. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us as well. We'll let you go for the night.
Right, see it.
All right. That is our word from our race winner. But now I want to talk with our second place finisher, Car Matthews. Matthews, unlike Railgun, who kind of spent most of the day up front, you were up and down and all around the entire field. Barely came home second off the back of time penalties. What do you have to say about your run today, Matthews? Matthews, can you hear me? Or Mateus, I guess. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Basically, what he said is that his race was chill. He only had done like a little battle with Savage and King Edward in Breezy Rain. He said that the strat was spamming. So I mean, yeah, we had another strat in mind, but since the safety car, the strat switched to full soft spam, and he could still catch up to second place because Violet had too much penalties.
All right. Matthews, second place. Mateus, second place result today. First 1-2 for the Fords. Do you think he can lock up the Manufacturers Championship maybe a week early before the season is over?
So basically what he said was, yeah, we got a shot on the manufacturers for sure. We just need to keep it consistently showing up and keeping the positions high, and we will be able to do it.
All right. Anything else you want to say, Matthews, before we let you go for the night?
So what he said was just the race is good and it had good battles, and that's it.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the words in his native Portuguese tongue from Carlos Matthews. Matthews, thanks for jumping in. Gracias. Have a good night, mate. I don't remember what thanks actually is in Portuguese. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. We did send an invite out to Dex Kalula. It doesn't look like he was either able or willing to jump in. We're not really sure what's going on there. But Kalula did bring home a 5th place result. Manuel Pedro brought home a 6th place result. And that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast tonight. A lot of interesting stories going into tonight's race. A lot of interesting stories coming out from tonight's race as well. But one thing is for sure, the Ford GT does still seem to be the best platform as they pull home a 1-2 finish, the second victory for Ford this season. But don't you worry, in a week's time, X League will be back once again. We are in the closing stretch of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for tonight's race. I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insanely 13. I look forward to seeing you all in the future. Until then, farewell and goodbye, everyone.